What's up guys, this is Nicole Glass, and in today's video I'm just going to tell the story of how and why I bought my first camera. I think everybody has a story about why they got into photography, because let's be real, most people don't just go to the store and drop $1,000 on a brand new camera for no reason. So as a teenager, I definitely loved taking photos, and I remember that I started playing around in Photoshop when I was 13 or 14. Photoshop was just one of the programs that was on my family's computer, and when I got home from school, I just started experimenting with it. I took lots and lots of photos at school, and then I would take these photos home and play with them. Obviously, these are all pretty terrible photos compared to what I take now, especially since I didn't have a professional camera or anything. But the point is that I definitely had an interest in taking photos from a very, very young age. But the thing is, I ignored this interest. Being a photographer was not even anything that ever crossed my mind. I didn't think that that's something that I would ever be doing. Instead, I went to college, I started out studying pre-med, decided I didn't like that, switched over to journalism and philosophy, and continued my degree in that. I did love journalism, and I still do. While in college, I freelanced for as many different places as I could. I wrote for my campus newspaper, and I was also an editor there, and then I also freelanced for USA Today College, the Huffington Post, and lots of other different online blogs and media. One day, I received an opportunity to report on an event in which Michelle Obama was coming to my campus. And I thought to myself, wow, how can I possibly go to this event without even having a good camera? I mean, I had a point and shoot, but that just wasn't gonna cut it. I had been contemplating buying a camera anyway, but this event was kind of like the tipping point. The night before the event, I made the decision. I went to the Best Buy that was near my school, and I took all my savings and I bought myself a camera. It was a Canon T2i Rebel series, and I got a bundle package for like $900, which came with 2 different kit lenses. You all probably are familiar with these kinds of bundle packages. And the only reason I went with Canon at the time was because the Nikon bundle package was like $50 more. I know, it seems silly in retrospect, but I did not do my research at all. I just wanted something to use for the next day. So my savings were gone at this point, but I had a camera, and I registered myself as a photographer for the event. That way I could be in the press pool rather than being in the bleachers where most of the print reporters were gonna be. So since I was now registered as a photographer for the event, I was put into the press pool with all the other press pool photographers. If any one of you has ever been in a press pool, don't do it. No, I mean, you can do it, but basically there's lots of seasoned veteran photographers, and it's like, I don't even know if I would call it photography. It's more like paparazzis, and being like in a mob of paparazzis. So here I am in this press pool with lots and lots of other photographers, and I'm just nervously standing there with my tiny little Canon T2i and the kit lens, and all the other photographers were shoving and pushing and trying to get the best spot and trying to get the best angle. And I definitely ended up with some bruises from that event just because I couldn't dodge all of the equipment and I wasn't fast enough. It takes skill to be in a press pool. And so my photos from that event, they were okay. They were entry-level photos because I didn't have a telephoto zoom lens at that point. But considering it was my first time ever using a DSLR camera, I'd say it was not bad. So now that I had a camera, I took that thing everywhere. I started photographing all sorts of news events and writing about them too. I remember taking photos of the Occupy movement, which was really big at the time, and taking portraits of people after interviewing them, and basically delivering some type of photo with every story that I was submitting to a newspaper or magazine. So at one point, I started freelancing for Bethesda Magazine, which is a local magazine based in Maryland. After one assignment, which was to go and write about different restaurants and stores in the area, I delivered short little blurbs about these places, and I also delivered a couple of photos that I took at these places. Not thinking that I would get paid for the photos, but just because I was there and I had my camera with me and I was writing about it anyway, so I took a couple of photos. And of course, I got paid for my articles, but then the magazine said, please invoice us for the photos as well. And I was definitely pleasantly surprised because at this point I wasn't even considering myself a photographer yet. I was just submitting photos of places that I was reporting on. There had been a few other instances, probably that I could count on one hand, in which I had been paid for my photos up until this point. And I actually have a video where I talk about the first photo I ever sold, and I'll link to that in the description below. But basically, these situations opened up my eyes to the world of photography and all of the opportunities that it could provide. And while I continued to work as a writer for the next few years, and still do work as a writer, I started to build a photography business on the side. And the older I get, the more I realize how important it is to do what you love rather than to chase money. Because when you chase what you'll love, you'll end up making a living from that. And a few years ago, my previous self would have never decided to pursue photography, even though deep inside, I've always loved it. So that's all for today. Just a very quick story about how I got started with photography and why I bought my first camera. If you guys haven't subscribed to my channel yet, please consider subscribing. I produce weekly videos about all things related to photography, drones, and travel. See you in the next video.